I know so many of us are anxious to gather back together on our physical campus to worship. And nobody probably wants to do that more than me. I mean, I'm preaching to an empty room, and I miss all of you. But I want to ask you to be patient with us as we look for the right timeline to gather back together physically on our campus. Now, some of you are new to the Vineyard, and you've never actually been to our physical campus. But for those of you who have, you know that our campus is designed for community. I mean, we have play areas for the kids, we have a cafe, we have bouncy houses for our kids on Saturday night at VC, we have a food service right after our Saturday night service, and on and on and on. And we do all of these things because we believe doing life in community is really important. And so what that means is that with our size and our strategy, our church doesn't work well with strict social distancing. I mean, take, for example, our kids' buildings. Kids don't even know how to practice social distancing. So as you begin to hear terms like reopening, and you hear about restaurants reopening, businesses reopening, even smaller churches reopening, I want to ask you to be patient and trust us as we work on the right timeline to gather back together physically here at Vineyard Church North Phoenix. We're trying to make sure that we do this in a very responsible way that serves our church and serves our city really, really well. So just to be upfront, I want you to know, while we are very eager to return to meeting again on our campus physically, we will not be gathering back together physically for weekend services in the near future. We won't. Now, we don't know an exact date of when we will, but we commit to keeping you updated on a regular basis. But I want to remind you, our church is never closed because the church is not a building. We're still doing ministry and preaching God's word and seeing lives change all the time. Our church is never closed. So I want to encourage you, hang in there. We will get through this, and we'll not only get through this, we'll be stronger on the other side of it. Now you might ask, well, what will our first step be to gather back together? Well, our first step will be to start meeting in person in our small groups. With all of the social distancing and all that, that will be our first step. That's why it's so important for you to be part of a small group right now. Now, under our current state guidelines, all of our small groups are meeting online right now. But as those guidelines begin to open up, we want to ask all of our small groups that are able to come back together and start meeting physically in homes, to begin doing life together. So again, if you're not part of a small group, there's never been a better time than right now to join one. Go on our website, vineyardnorthphoenix.com, check out the small groups that are meeting online, and you could start attending one of those this week. Again, we will get through this, and we'll get through this together.